많이 옴 아호 이러다 보는 주안인데 이제 뭐 소문이 맞다고 그래서 저도 다다다면서 제니께서 관계를 그래서 저는 추시바의 가르들이 세대 주제들이 세대 주고 오려래 산지도 내가 샘들랑 그 샘내 요소는 들었어 내자대 강의들이 토만이 들어요 다들 들어야지 마음이 방아대 나디제 고송 나디제를 들이 남도 자동 무슨 탐지에 될게요 될때 들었다 다들 들었다 댐니 되는 내가 편받아 타석되어 되었지 단조강 망자성 들이다 댐명만 보도 좀 하고 말이 자락거리 하고 말이다 내닉니 좀 들이 알아게 잡는 것들도 소소라들이 요들 확장시라요 말이지 나타서 댐니 내서 댐니 째기
So we just spoke before about Chitin Sumgön's song, which is also in a song of impermanence and so on. And so anyways, when the whole purpose, what's the main purpose of the explaining the Dharma and listening to the Dharma? What is the Dharma actually? The Dharma is something that transforms our mind. That's why the Buddha said, completely tame your own mind. So what is it that needs to be tamed? Actually, in the beginning, there is nothing to be tamed because it starts with really believing in, grasping at an I, a me that doesn't really exist. And then from that arise all the thoughts of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, and so on. So that is what needs to be tamed. And so basically for that we need a key. And there's two keys. And the keys are the keys to the temporary benefit and the ultimate happiness. And we can't have too many, because if we have too many like treasure houses and so many different keys, and then there's all these things and we don't know what to find where, it gets complicated. So there's just two keys really that we need. And now I'm just speaking from my own experience, and I don't have much learning or studying of the teachings. I'm just speaking from my experience, but what I can give you is two keys.
놀라 추풍 제트 제동 리리 제트 제동 somebody 심진 장미 바까바 장미 바라 somebody 대성은 심지 망자를 인도로 나도 뭐 나도 이제 뭐서 그래서 철 노드나들이 특파지는 송을 좀제 특파당 동당고 된바지 된바이는들이 된바이는 마디바 강이요 말 건데가 지탐시 그래서 내가 피파테 가래야 되는 그것도 좀제를 하래 말이 내가 그들이랑 다진인데 마다가 바르데 이 비글로 어떻게 라리 소비는 토반이 송네 문에 송타다데 저드는 남들에다데 라리 소비면은 마찬가지죠 말이 라리 소비면은 토만이네들이 동네 말에 답된도래 좀 조금 산지지 비슷한 총송들에 내니기 라리 야요래 가서 들이 대라데 동네 말에 다딘이 찍고 채베들 다딘이 찍고 다 이비를 놓으실 거래 이비를 놓는데 채비바 예송요래 그러기는 너무 때나 채비바 예는나니 강조를 되는 사바 채비에서 그래 그러나 로마까지 그래서 로데에서 로마 가시가 로마 찍게 되나니 딱저도 거기 나 찍을 가르쳐가요. 딱 저도 나 찍을 가르쳐서 그냥 사바체비 약수예지. 그때 가르라는 양용들이 그 체비 봐야 사바체미지 데베트서는 배는 잡아 될 용지 가르쳐야 되는 내가 듣는 것은 코를 대화하네요. 그래도 다 상바당 행제지. 상바라 뛰는 행제 용거요. 상바라 뛰는 행제 용화에 되는 문제기 행제 주제래. 그래 상바당 되는 행제에서 그래 삼행제, 삽제, 삼제. 이 행제라 되는 잠을 배는 행제랑 신바제요. 행제랑 신바제 강례들. 딱 그랬더니 매도 이제 bonus 도차 제라서 봐. 이제 오다라 이제 올때 단지 볼래비들 이게 요 랩이요. 단지 랩이요. 전도 도 차서 뭐요. 그러다 답변은 무슨 미리적서 잡아야 되니 다 우리 뭐체 대대와 죽어로 되나 되니 그 좋아 매 저들이 저도 차라들이 좋아 매 좋아도 차요. 되니 유목도들이 그 코아레 소리 그래 유모가 톡대 레레라레 톡톡톡 참겨요래. 이 쪼르게 발라들이 세상 쪼르게 발라냐라. 세상 쪼르게 발라야다. 들 차도 쪼르게 발라라미. 뒤sab게 능내지 just 능치 저도 야고서. 유모 톡대. 이 유모가 톡대서다 가서 설명이다 하고. 설명을 하고는 대그들이 설명 끼마 타데 들이잖아. 림반 제인데 세부터 대성은 다 박차 야성 박차 야도 특히 서탑다 그래들 이 다들 서탑들이 박차 세부 박차 세부 쓰고 요래 어야 별로 이다 파르서 막 톡도 사지에 들랑도 파르서 막 톡데 유머리 니 뭐라 소리 빼는 거 어야 세당이 뭐 삼바 들이지 나디게 뭐 이제봐 주전 노차가 뭐 주전 다 파르도스 막 독수교대 이 자와 남의 생도도들 요리 대르들이 뒤세를 내는 뭐라 진시 기회 니분 송송래서 차소 용도 못지 마타 뭐 요새 받을지라는 용송 뒤책대 소리들이 샘장마들 맞아와 소리지 무슨 상관은 소리 냠접 여자 자이송라 당시 노자 치고 유목노라 당시 냠접 여자지 세는 것은 하적 세와지 조포세나 대를 끼는 다음에 맞으시 세상만 볼까니 세와지 싸와요 다 같이 쓰고요 그 가가도요 별라 그래서 누구만 되게 꽉 겨줘요 꽉 겨서 제가 텔레카들이 누구만 뚱대하고는 그 시합 강고 그러다 시합 때 강의 용도 시합 때 저들이 쪼람 초청들이 시합 때 싸고 그래 시합 때 강의 용도 시합 때 흥기래요 그래 사발에 거래 사발에 강의들이 뺀다 타담으로 레좀 제는 시키거나 따다도 좀 제대방 무슨라고 생각하고 그러더니 이제 계속 송 다투 공부하고 대세는 거래 좀 기직 소실 안 하고 그래서 오, 또다 맞다 들어서 냠데 요래. 샘직발에서 맞습니다. 그 샘직발에서 혼자다 왜 수시에 송시. 오, 또뭐 쪼르르 들어는 이제 들어라라 시당지 라라 사도 라라 삼제지 들어라 남만나서 라라 매에 대화를 하고 들어는 쭉만 뭐직바데 수지에 송시. 무슨 레그스에 송시. 레저 속에서 생각사서 대를 뒤시되게 너무 말하게 하고 뒤쪽이는 대들이 삼바라 뛰는 사람들 이제 와가 있게 저는 삼바던 행제대 단디의 차로 따버려 봐 삼행제대 다른 대 조다버려 봐 대하고는 다 둘이 대하고는 다 삼바던 행제 저를 집에 다 하다스럼 간 거요. 그래서 제가 조를 동물을 하도 죽어요. 뒤하에 며칠 당시에는 뭐 가을 며칠은 남상 책가야마저 새도 초학하고 그래. 그래서 가마같이 초학하고 그래. 제 sem적이 뭐 다 대리지. 대를 미 대를 뭐 가나 대를 주 밑에 콩을 가그만이 생각하면가 다 줄여서 손수 말이 콜마가 좀 가래리 나랑이 나니 sem적이 받으라 그 sem에 속도는 sem고 속도 너도 찾아 맞춰는 삼당이 셈들은 딱 쳐고요 그래 그리고서 상지가 다 맞춰고요 그래 상지에 셈도 싸마 차로 대일들이 통화될 때 저기다 뭐 상지에서 계획해 보면 상지에 따라서 상지에 돼서 로도나 맞아야 되게 이들이 셋들이 싶으니 뭐 답변이가 와서 멀리들 못 치면 맞지거라 가시가 나야 저 놀러 가면 땅은 멀리들 땅 자체 고랑 시작이요라 말이들 도와줘 상상되는 배저 장성는 되는 장당 저고니 되나 멀리들 하다 톡가버려지 뒤집어 하고서 생고 가야면 빠고 호모자는 하나만 이제 다시 버리지 들어들었지라 아주 가면 때 그거지 저기 받아 가려 가면 세늘래 세상 가도 따라 세상 주를 요래지 얘네들이 세상에 내가지를 다 내가지를 터버리지 내가 가지를 터버면 그때 가서 터보면 매번 속자 동접 봐지 마음에 나와 줄 소나무 속자도 버리 뭐 저기 밤에 사자를 세는 순간이래 대로 순남시 받아 사고거든 순남시 받아 가야지 순남시 받아 랑나 핀 받아 지나죠 다 삼지 순남을 사오면 좀 삼지를 통해요 대로 순남을 저서 사자부터 매 타만 잡으면 매 같이 롱도 빵절 것들이고 약하고 같이 살비 야 담배 출라들이 생기 잠을 발라 주정 콜로콜 맥체터미 야 담배 출로 이거 거리들이 배받아 대베 접시바 그래서 저 소나를 하래도 우리 때는 이 소나 사고서 소나한테 가리 소나 사고 땅을 좀 놀러 좀 상고야 말이지 말아래 기와 셈을 샤바를 사도서 제게베 저 이때 가슴 장미 받대 삼지 나중에 뭐 저거 그래야 제일 벌어져서 그런 게 생을 쓸랑시 받는 건데 세일에 가서 온 말이지 세일 류하가 사와도 쏘고 말이지 강지 내가 지금 하나서 또 섬직대는 못해 나도 저 가면 로치 가면 집아치 봐왜 밤에 진짜 내와지 틀리대 삐에 쳐보자 설루마가 사와도 남 생부터는 거래 샘는 탑과리 사지에 밤에 생고만 대박해적 잡았지는 대라더니 나고를 쏘아대고 루고를 사자짱 그래 저 술렁시 받아 대지 돈을 대라더니 술렁고 저기 하고는 생고만 대박이나 대수는 그래지 대선 생고만 대박이 로도 그래 야골을 대박을 저도 그래 상태세 말골을 들이지 이성 도가를 니게를 저도 그래 이게 삼바시는 삼바시 받아들이 심지어 동의를 하고 그래 동의를 랑토를 냈네 랑테서 울려 동의 소화 가려고 살이 다 소소를 가려고 대사를 등이 다 사기가 파만 맞으면 진짜 매서 말이지 사기가 파만 맞으죠 다 띵이 같이 다 파만 맞으면 장 가려야 되는 장 말이 샘이 소리 샘이 니와 말이 나지 니와 말이这个社会原因里头的，你在那路儿路干啥干？你也在那路叫让我的，这怕嘛不是吧？这怕嘛的了，怕嘛上这没的，没人你的嘛都有嘛了。这个上这些我的怕嘛的，多这个人这个有的，这这帮就真是我个怕嘛的上这没的有的，琢磨了上这没的有嘛，这我琢磨了，这都让看了上这就上这的问题呢。또 상태지 되지. 상태지가 생 되지. 이렇게 다들 놀아도 생기 당시 들어 참아지고서 세고 이제 때마다 문제들이 좀 되었더니 파마 맞아봐 지당 배봐. 들으라고 해서 좀 파마게 시선을 대답을 내나 반항도 사는 대답을 로요리. 대답을 이제도 다들 상관없나. 들이들 문제 세면이 등에 소화를 한 걸. 다 이니 삼아내려라. 대리들이 당연히 사직에 땅 새끼가 땅을 두고 새끼 감성성을 감성적에 다 제가 골라서 삼로들은 다 장미 말하지 Three days of the Dungi, Dungi, she was when you come to the Dungi, the central reptoa, the Language Jan. ピムタで借りる。シートくれ、おい。そうちゃちゃとこじゃったくなりで。いや、まあれし。そ族とまで、なん戦争です。戦争に戦後大事にしていることにもめれさあるです。でらてががせずさばせびばちな、こっち大事に、あるんけさばちたっては、てさること大事にめばとんとこよ。大事にせっとこよです。べるジャントでちゃうろちゃでるて、ちゃさわ테드로는 사고 체그들이 좀 차트고 그래서 제가 돈도 좀 되겠더니 되게 시체들이 랑도 삼바테 삼바타 용진지 삼바 용나 또 차타들 또 사바 또 차들 통나 그 강행을 오 다들 동해서 손내더니 다들 동해서 좀 두고 다들 행기지 그래 속 차들 대도 저와 가리는 오 내를 대치를 빈건 내들 빈도 삼는 다시 시작되고 그래 가르칠 필요도 가르칠 누구도 그때 시합들이 마크 버 집에 와대 들 시합들이 당 민지 요래 당 삼바 요래라고 생각 중거래 이번에 현지 요래 니들이 시합 리포트 딱 보자 때 피부 딱 남반 나서 내가 믿으라서 봐 되게 제도 이 현지 요래 시합 배우지 그 가르쳐서 오 삼바를 때는 현지 제거래 니들이 이게 내서 하고 그래 내 살을 때는 뒤 삼바다는 삼바란 데는 이게 때문에 인기 축복치는 도시야. 저기 뭐 다른 것도 볼 차나. 그래서 내가 이제 가면은 내가 거기서 왔다는 소리 차사 자고 요래 삼바들 때문에 인기 이시나 하고서 삼세들 때문에 삼세지 배추는 그 쇠와디 이제 하고는 내가 때는 삼바를 때문에 인기는 맛이 바르대라고요. 그래서 상치라서 인기 찍고는 인기기만 도 차대. 다른 차사만 보자면 제가 들이 가르만 보자고 대답이 삼바다 인기가 싶어. 삼바다만 들으면 인기 대답이 좀 되래. 그래도 삼바다는 상관없다나. 들이는 것이 로마틱의 라벨. 나그 삼바처럼 야라 참아 kokku가를 차서 야라 참아 사바리 차로 때문에 사바를 이렇게 자세히 들이 즉디 속기 속이 속차하고 이렇게라 못하잖아. 들이 삼보 차고 얘네들이 삼바지 때문에 뭐 콕콕콕 배잖아. 답들래 뒤에 뒤시 봐요. 상태에서 제가요. 그래도 언제 내면 삼바 셈이 언제지 하도 기침보다 때는 너무요. 그 삼바를 뜨는 게 제가도 내가 가고도 삼바인지
So, Chitin Somgön had said that if you haven't gained complete certainty in karma, cause and effect, then any talk about profound emptiness is but a lie. Or karma being emptiness is but a lie. We need to gain certainty in karma first. So there are 84,000 different afflictive emotions, and in fact, they can each be combined with each other. So there are limitless forms of afflictions, just as there are limitless sentient beings having appeared in limitless aeons. So there are just too many if we were to count how many sentient beings there are and how many afflictions and negative thoughts there are. But in brief, it all comes down to in the teachings on the vehicles, the different yanas. It says there is first the vehicle of karma, and then ultimately there is the vehicle of emptiness. And there's really, even though there is so many, there's really no Dharma teaching that is not included within just the twofold truth. So the temporary benefit depends on karma, which is the relative truth. On the temporary relative level, we perceive a duality of self and other due to self-grasping. And until this has become purified, altruism is most important. and that is why we begin with the 37 Bodhisattva practices. And actually all the teachings are included in the 37 practices. So now speaking from an experiential perspective, what is it that we actually really need to put into practice? It's really just the 37 practices. There is nothing not included in that. And even within that, in one verse, everything is included. And that verse says, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So these two sentences are like the two keys that have been placed into our hands. So if we want to become free of suffering, we need to free ourselves of self-grasping, and we do that through the altruistic mind, the four immeasurables. And I'm speaking just from my own experience. The four immeasurables are really actually most important, and within the four immeasurables, which one is most important? It is immeasurable love. Actually, there were several disciples who asked about that, and one specifically said, like, give me one thing to practice continuously. And I said the best thing is to cultivate immeasurable love. And I'm speaking from my own experience. That is the key that you need to hold in your hand. It is the four immeasurables, and within that, it is immeasurable love. So it's the key of love. And so what's the quality of love? Even the slightest happiness in samsara comes from love. And from love arises real compassion. That is a real, authentic compassion. It is a compassion that is imbued with love. And there are different forms of compassion, actually. There's also just the ordinary, the ordinary compassion. For example, that is, you care for one specific thing, like there's one nice flower, or one nice thing, or one nice animal, or one nice person that you're attached to. So that's this like affection that you feel for this object is because of self-grasping. So it is attachment. This kind of compassion is related to attachment. And not mainly actually that is a characteristic of us human beings. Mainly the cause of birth in the human realm is desire, or is kind of attachment, which arises from the ordinary compassion. And so each of the 6 afflictive emotions creates its own form of samsara, and attachment creates the experience as a human being. But then each of the 6 afflictive emotions can also be combined with each other, so there are many afflictive emotions. So, for example, but if one's main afflictive emotion is anger, then that mainly leads to birth in the hell realm. Or if it is mainly greed, one takes birth as a hungry spirit and so forth. Or if it is mainly jealousy, one takes birth as a demigod. And so the afflictive emotions must be recognized within your own mind, the causes that lead to those states of existence. So when you recognize that, then the moment these afflictive emotions arise, you will instantly recognize them. So it is because they arise, and ordinary people believe in the truth, the reality of that thought, and then that thought remains within their minds. And if the thought remains within their minds, then this is how the karmic imprint is created. So this is how we form karmic imprints, by allowing our thoughts of believing something to be true to remain within the mind. And then how can we purify them? It is also through the mind. The mind has to clear them away. The Buddha taught the path of the 6 paramitas, each of which is an antidote to one afflictive emotion. For example, the antidote to anger or hatred is love, or the antidote to clinging attachment or self-grasping is generosity, or the antidote to desire is ethical discipline, and so forth. So the root of purifying the mind is within the 6 paramitas. they are each an antidote to one afflictive emotion. And they need to be applied the moment these emotions arise. In the 37 practices, it says when one is armed with the weapon of antidotes, when the soldier of mindfulness is armed with the weapon of the antidote, it will slay or cut the emotions the moment they arise. So you have to eliminate them the moment they arise through mindfulness. So this verse in the 37 practices, I encourage you to really remember it. So that is really what pollutes the mind, is that when we allow that these emotions remain within the mind. Also that is mentioned, for example, in the smoke offering, and it speaks about what is cleared away through the smoke offering is the various obscurations that arise from transgressions and harm doers and enemies and so forth. All of this is cleared away. And what it really is that clears it all away is great love. And so we get angry at people for all kinds of different reasons, all kinds of conditions that lead to a disagreement. Even though actually we love the other person a lot, we still get angry at them all the time. And so then actually when we keep repeating that over and over again, then eventually this love will be dissevered. This bond of love will be destroyed. And people might even kill themselves or they just go separate ways. And that's because they have become controlled by the afflictive emotions. So in that moment when that happens, when the affliction arises, most important is that you recognize it, and then next that you see the fault in your own afflictive emotion. And how do you know that? You know that because of wisdom. You possess awareness. So this wisdom is something that you need to, this clear awareness is something you need to sustain in all your activities continuously. And actually, where does it arise from? Wisdom actually also arises from compassion. And as we said, compassion arises from love. So therefore, it arises from love. First of all, you love others, and then actually that leads to wisdom, which then believes in or trusts in karma. So it all depends on love, actually. And also, this one quote by Jigten Sumgön from the Gongjik is also one that I encourage you to remember and bear in mind, and that is the one where he said, cause and effect is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. So when you understand that, you really reflect on that. You think, for example, now in this world we have animals and humans living together. We look different, but our mind is the same. Our karma is different. And so why do they look like that? Who is responsible for it? They did it with their own karma. It's the karma mainly of ignorance that leads to birth as an animal. But then there's different kinds of animals within that. There are some animals who are more aggressive, and then there's other animals that are much more gentle and loving. And then there are some animals who have it even better than human beings. So there's all kinds of different animals, actually. And so all of this variety is due to karma. And karma arises from within the mind. So when you reflect in this way, you develop a mindfulness. And a mindfulness recognizes your own afflictive emotion the moment it arises. And then next, it recognizes the fault in that affliction. And it recognizes the quality of love. So love then remains kind of the basis of all your action. And so generally, as we said, love and compassion are like the warmth that melts the ice block of self-grasping. So in brief, if you want to be happy, you need to cultivate love and compassion. If you, in a moment where you feel very loving, you feel extremely happy in that moment. Or for example, if you come close to a person that is very loving, that loves you very much, you immediately feel very happy. Whereas if there's a person that you don't like, actually, if there is a mutual dislike, then not a single word needs to be spoken. You will immediately feel exactly how the other person feels about you. And and they will feel how you feel about them. So there's a mutual knowing of how the other person feels without having said a single word. And that is actually a sign that our minds are really one. So, for example, if there's a person that you don't like, then you naturally have this thought in your mind. First of all, you think, he doesn't like me, I don't like him. And when you think this way, you have already created karma. You've already accumulated karma. So if you really think about it more carefully, like, what is it really that I don't like? Why is it that I don't like the person? Our minds really are the same. And that is why he will feel what I'm feeling, and I feel what he's feeling. Instantly, the moment you feel something about someone when you're in their presence, they will also feel that. And it's just we don't recognize that. And the Buddha has recognized that through this feeling that our minds are actually one. And having recognized that, the Buddha had purified his own mind. And so for that, love in the beginning is really most important. And this is really where we begin with the path of the 4 thoughts that turn the mind when the Buddha first taught. Now, first the Buddha taught the 4 thoughts so that we let go of our clinging attachment to this life. That is why we learn about, for example, how difficult it is to find a precious human body. Now, some people who don't understand that, they think that my life is worthless, I am so poor, I have nothing, there's nothing worse than me, and then they even want to kill themselves. But actually, if you really think about it, how hard it is to find a precious human body of the 6 grams, you will see that no matter what circumstance you're in, you still have a precious human body. For example, we reflect on the difficulty of finding a human body in terms of its causes, in terms of illustrations and numbers. And of these 3, especially when you think about the numbers and the causes, you really will understand how hard it is to find a precious human body. And if you only understand that, you will think that even though I'm poor and have nothing, I have to ask for alms, I still have a precious human body. And then why is it that I'm so poor? It is because of the karma of greed or stinginess. And where is that greed now? It's still now present in my mind. So there are some people, for example, that naturally whatever they do, they are successful, they get what they want. And then there's others who, no matter how much they try, they never get anything. And so why is that? It's because of merit. It is said in the Sagya's words of advice that the accomplishment of one's wishes without merit are effortful, and they are fleeting like a flame, a butterland flame in the wind. Whereas the accomplishment of one's purposes of someone with merit, who possesses merit, is like the sun shining. It just happens effortlessly and naturally. So if you have merit, then things naturally fall into place. Therefore, we need to accumulate merit. And so what is it again? Through merit, we will find benefit. We benefit ourselves, and it leads to the happiness of others. And the root of merit is only love. That is what we need to accumulate. That is that cause of merit that we need to accumulate. For example, there are some people who have a lot of merit. For example, they are very wealthy, and they're able even to help whole countries and so on. And then there is other people in the Dharma, for example, who are able to turn the wheel of Dharma to limitless sentient beings and open the eyes to the Dharma for limitless sentient beings. So there are many beings who are able to bring about limitless benefit and happiness of others, whether in the world or in the Dharma. And the reason they are capable of doing that is because they have merit, they have accumulated merit. So therefore, if you find yourself in a place of impoverishment, don't think that I'm so poor, there's nothing I can do, there's nobody worse off than me. Don't think that way, because you still have a precious human body that you can use to practice virtue, to practice the Dharma, to eliminate self-grasping. And so therefore, when it comes to accumulating merit, it's not about your outer abilities, what you can do in the outer world. It's not about your activities of body and speech as much as it is your mind. Also in the prayer of Sukhavati, it says that it is a greater benefit to pray to the Buddha Amitabha and Deva Chen with faith and joining your palms than it is to offer the billionfold universe filled with precious jewels to all the Buddhas of the 3 times. So it is of greater benefit to have faith. For example, if from the bottom of your heart you join your palms in faith to Amitabha and to the Pure Land, for example, then that is merit. That faith that you feel for the Buddha is actually a mind of love. And if you have faith and devotion, you will pray with your speech, and you will prostrate or join your palms with your body and so on. And that is merit. So when your love is directed toward the higher beings, it becomes faith or devotion, and that's how you accumulate merit. And so it's like electricity, like light. When the light of love is sent to the higher beings, it becomes devotion, and when it is sent to the sentient beings, then it becomes compassion, when it reaches the beings of the 6 realms. So with love, it is through love that you recognize the suffering of others. You become aware of sentient beings' suffering. When you really love them, their suffering comes to you, and you feel the suffering. For example, you think that how would it be if I would have to suffer this on my body, and so on. So you think in this way, or if it was my own parents, and so on. Because most people love their parents, and the Buddha said that's why we begin with our parents, and then we reflect that there's not a single being who has not been our parents. And there are countless sentient beings. But then you don't have to focus so much on the number, because then you can think that there's just too many sentient beings. So don't think about how many sentient beings there were, but think that ultimately the basis of our mind is one and the same. Self and other are inseparable. So we are really one. And in all these lifetimes, we have taken birth in every kind of existence in the 6 realms of samsara. And at that time, you had parents who really loved you. And then you think that everyone has been such a parent. And no, you start with your parents or your friend, and then you expand that. Actually, Jigten Sumgön had said, most people love their parents, but there are some people who do not love their parents. And if you don't love your parents, then there's no one who wouldn't love like their boyfriend or girlfriend. So then you think of them, the partner that you love very much. So the point is that first you have to recognize love. This is love, this feeling of love. And then reflect that the mind of all beings in the 6 realms of animals and humans and so on is one and the same. Then you really begin to understand karma. And for example, when somebody has died, that a loved one, like a parent or a friend, you know that they go on and driven by karma, due to various karmas that they have created. So think in this way. And so then think about their suffering so that a real feeling arises in your mind. This is then how love actually arises. And from this love develops real compassion. We speak about the limitless sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara, but it all really comes down to that single mind. And when you think about their suffering, the suffering should come to your mind. That's why the Buddha said in the beginning, you have to recognize suffering, and so that a real feeling arises in your mind. And then what's the benefit of that? Because you might feel that, how can I help them all? Even if I feel all their suffering, like I can't help all the ants and all the different sentient beings. But again, it's not about the body, it's the mind that's most important. So why do they suffer? They suffer because of self-grasping. And their karma created, driven by afflictive emotions. So since the root is self-grasping, what do they need? They need love. So if I cultivate immeasurable love, that will help them diminish self-grasping. The stronger my love, the more I will diminish their self-grasping. For example, it's just like the more love you have, the more hot is your water. And if you pour it over the ice block, it will melt. Even if it's just a little bit of hot water, the ice will get somewhat melted. It will get somewhat cool, warmer. And so ultimately, therefore, karma really is related to the ultimate truth. And if you trust in that, when you really begin to trust in that, you begin to see the quality of love. So when you really love others, and then you, for example, see an animal that suffers, then you see, first of all, you are aware of their suffering, and you see, oh, I see how they suffer, and I want to help them, I want to protect them. So from that love arises compassion. And then you recognize, because you love them and you care for them, what it is that makes them feel well, and what it is that makes them feel be in pain. So with wisdom, you know what is good for them, what will help them or benefit them, what will harm them and what will benefit them. It is just like a mother who is caring for her child. Because she loves the child, she also possesses wisdom, knowing what it is that she needs to do to benefit and not harm the child. And so from love, first love arises, and love is really what transforms your mind. Second, from this love arises compassion, and then from that arises this compassion, which is infused by love, arises wisdom. And with wisdom, you know what to do to help others. For example, a mother knows how to take care of her child, how to treat the child when it's ill, and so forth. So therefore, from compassion arises wisdom. And so with compassion, you become aware of the situation of others, what it is that they go through. And that is not the ordinary compassion. That's the compassion that is imbued with love, that comes from real love, loving care. Otherwise, if it's just ordinary compassion that doesn't arise from love, then it's just related to attachment. For example, then it just arises because you're attached to somebody's beautiful body or beautiful voice and so on, like an animal, for example. Or in a worldly sense, for example, in samsara, that's why people often get married. And so if you understand this point of possessing compassion that is imbued with love, that comes from love, then this love, when both understand that, then this love will be so strong that you will be able to spend the rest of your lives together. You will not separate. So that is when the compassion arises out of love. And so then naturally you will be able to stay together. Otherwise, if it's just a compassion that is not really coming from a kindness or a feeling of love, then it just becomes ordinary attachment. And there's many people who, for example, get married just based on an ordinary desire, and then they get married maybe many times in their life, and they always experience difficulties, and then they separate. And the fault of that is that they do not have a compassion that is imbued with love. So think about love. Actually, I had one disciple who once said to me that it's not just even people that he loves, but he even feels affectionate towards inanimate objects. Like there's this feeling of wanting to be gentle with them, with even objects. And just seeing an object, he feels love toward the object. So leave alone having love for sentient beings with or without a body, he even felt great love for an object and treated the object with great gentleness and kindness. Because normally that's not how we treat objects. We treat them completely mindlessly, and we just like slam doors and so forth. that's actually also related to mindful awareness. So hold on to mindful awareness in your activities. So anyways, this is the first key. The first key is the key of love, and I'm speaking from just my own experience. From love arises compassion. So the first key is the key of love. All temporary happiness comes from love. Everything is included within love. From love, for example, come generosity, ethical discipline, patience, also diligence, and shamatha, meditation. Everything is included within that. And the ultimate happiness comes from abiding within the view. If you understand the view, the nature of the mind, you become free of doubts. So when you rest within the state of the view, the nature of the mind becomes free of dualistic thought. And that is the view, what we call the view of vipassana, that we often speak about. So if you just are able to rest within that view for a single moment, the benefits are inconceivable. The Buddha, for example, said in the Great Liberation Sutra, he said, it is of greater benefit to rest in a single session of meditation than it is to save the lives of all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara. Or for example, the bardo sentient beings, when they see the nature of the mind, that is said to be the supreme power. It is because they recognize Buddha nature. And so this is how we attain enlightenment. We must attain enlightenment through our own recognition. Milarepa also said that at the root, you cannot find the Buddha anywhere aside from your own mind. If you want to find the Buddha, look at the nature, the characteristic of your own mind. You will not find the Buddha elsewhere. So that is the ultimate reality, or the key of the ultimate reality. When you realize the nature of your mind, you will experience unchanging, lasting bliss. So, Dharma friends, this is my mandala offering to you today. And so then, adding on to this quote by Milarepa from before, that you cannot find the Buddha elsewhere aside from your own mind. Then there's one line that follows that, and that is that when you cultivate faith in the higher beings, compassion arises. That's really significant. That is when a pure view and faith arises for higher beings, from this actually arises compassion, meaning that the greater your pure view is, the greater your compassion for beings will be. In other words, if you cannot give rise to faith and a pure view toward higher beings, you will not be able to cultivate real compassion for sentient beings. Therefore, faith is really extremely precious. And having faith means that you remember the qualities of the Buddha. So what's the quality of the Buddha? There is no one but the Buddha who knows how to liberate sentient beings from the ocean of samsaric suffering of the three realms. No one but the Buddha knows that. And how many Buddhas are there? There are limitless Buddhas in the three times. And so when you really understand that and you think of the Buddha, it brings tears to your eyes. And when that happens, it's really a sign that you trust. So faith is extremely important. It's actually really most important of everything. If you have faith and a pure view, from that only real compassion will arise, and that's why it is really most important. So again, faith and pure view, it means that you always remember the qualities. You have to remember the qualities of the Buddha.
그래서 담을 건데 나니 잘 로드들이 착하게 있는 들어서 요리 대사전하는 걸 남탄 철리는 이거는 대체로 돌아가는 쪽 주도는 이제 로마에서 돌아가는 배야 보여 돌아가는 뛰다니 그 다다지 책대 배 돌아가는 보여 야들이 내가 다톡 가서 평도 하고 그래 두기체들이 주제에 우리가 동원을 내가 다섯 개 펜바지 때문에 필대 조건 이제 뭐 나사지 때문에 펜지 탐생 조건 내뭐 하고도 제가 주로도 뭐 다시 될
So then when you, for example, read the 100,000 Songs of Milarepa, and you come across a quote, a teaching that really touches your heart, then you take that out and compile it and then organize a discussion group, or kind of a session on that, and discuss it with the other disciples. That would be really excellent. For example, just these quotes we mentioned now, actually, they provide an excellent topic for discussion groups. So through them, you understand what's the temporary benefit and the ultimate happiness. So anyways, thank you so much for organizing this teaching on this topic, on the temporary and the ultimate happiness and the benefit. It's really very beneficial to know that, because now we understand that really the Buddha's teachings are the only source of all benefit and happiness. So Dharma friends, Dashi Delek.
들이 삼바 건데 토마들이 랑 세당지를 데리고는 들이 뒤지거라 자요 랑 자서를 저 내가면도 자서양면도 자도 토마도 들이 대다들이 랑 세당지를 뒤 하자까지 보고 거리 지금이 배송을 제로도 세파 특단지 본동 다 많이 가요 갭돌 거자 송 하자자 아침부터 자들이 뛰는들이 마시라 이런게 방마다 제도 대담도 담체 차소는 예다다 지어다는 저리 다다되나 내 탐지 민망 더나는 이제만을 배송을 해당답에 득밤이지 그래서 해당지 내가 상응인데 그때는 자 해당지 내가 도코는 알행무지 자리 setting을 해주고 말이 짝지점이 해당의 임차들이 해당 소문인데 특지치성 만에 짝지체성 해당 손인데 특지체성은 다시 다소바 공식을 이제 기점을 요래 하자 같이 뭐 뒤집어져 뒤수고 그 총을 자자요래 대도나 치버리 제일 뛰니 자와까마 바퀴 가주 쩌주가 고라 다당만 야고 동대리 동 투목만 이봐야 따대리 들 다시 되래요.
Actually, one important thing that I forgot to mention that I want to mention, and that is how we cultivate love. Actually, the best way to cultivate love is to cultivate love first for the one that you dislike the most, the one that you feel you're very angry with. That's the one that you must cultivate love for. And this is what, for example, I have done, and now in this world I can't find a single enemy. There's not a single enemy, even if I wanted to find them. In this way, you cannot find an adversary anymore. So you have to bring to mind that person that really makes you angry, the person that you really don't like, and then think that this person is actually most kind to you. The kindest person is that person that really triggers your anger. Jigme Lingpa had said that the enemy that obstructs you actually is like an enhancement or a stepping stone in your practice, and all blame and abuse are actually an encouragement to practice virtue. So when there is an enemy, first you have to think that in a previous life this enemy has been a very dear, loved person, like your parents or a friend, with whom you have broken samaya, and as a result, they now appear as an enemy. But you actually should see the afflictive emotion in your own mind. The 5 afflictions are like a disease in the mind. So Milarepa had said there is no greater negativity than anger in your mind, because anger is the seed of the hell realm, and you need to get rid of the anger, and the way to get rid of it is by letting it come up to the surface. So the enemy that brings up the anger is actually like your doctor who performs a surgery on you and takes it out. Otherwise, it stays there inside of your belly, and you can't take it out. No one can take it out but your enemy. And so therefore, you will feel grateful and say thank you to your enemy. All those who trigger your anger, you will say thank you to them. You feel sincerely grateful toward them, because you see them like a doctor who heal you. And when you see them in that way, then you will be able to practice patience. So that's extremely important. So that is why in our opening prayer in the very beginning, we put Jigten Sumgön's aspiration, where he puts the enemy in the very beginning. So we cultivate compassion for the enemy first. And that's extremely meaningful. And that's also why, for example, Holiness Karmapa, he took that prayer and put it into their general prayer book, also in the beginning, because it is so meaningful. So that is the one thing I wanted to mention, Dashidele.
사제를 제와 제가 폴디는 통합이 대도다 전부도 즉지소 지는 통초보 조용만 사제를 제와 우리들이 통초거리 내가 사제 지수님 바가리 근데 사제가 폴을 취지지 뭐 어메디는 통해서 사제 지역에 상제거리시 Then for something, they met something in German. They use some Savatari, Rami, Givarchar, getting Jesus in Mother, Sadi Jesus in my two Jesus in my getting Jesus in body. So take big pig of Sonum Chebo top of Jerry Dopena, the Tamak didn't tongue choker, Sajay, the power in tongue choker, such a tongue shot in your Mary, the part of Sonum Chebo Toker.
And then one more thing. So if you really love the Buddha, you can use one of those alms bowls, those begging bowls to drink. And every time you see it, you remember the love of the Buddha. Actually, Jigten Somgön had said that it's not like certain people are allowed and other people are not allowed to drink from this bowl. If you have devotion, faith in the Buddha, then you are allowed to drink from that bowl. Because when you, through this bowl, you recollect the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. So when you see this bowl, you remember the Buddha, and you remember the Buddha's great love. And then when you see the bowl, you also remember the Dharma, which means I have to cultivate love. And then when you see this bowl, you also remember the Dharma, and that is when the Sangha, and that is when, when you cultivate love through the Dharma, then whatever you do with body, speech, and mind will naturally become virtues. So you become a Sangha. So through this alms bowl, you recollect the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And personally, it has really benefited me a lot. And it is a way to accumulate great merit by recollecting the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So therefore, anyone is allowed to drink from an alms bowl like this if you have faith in the Buddha. But other than that, there is no rule of some is allowed, some is not allowed to drink from it. So if you use it this way, it's a great way to accumulate merit.
All your kindness, compassion, through the wisdom, and very special teachings for your generosity is behalf of our Sangha. Thank you very much, Rinpoche. Long life, and stay healthy, and stay longer, benefit more other beings. Be with us always. Appreciate always your teaching. Then also, I want to share the thank you very much, Garchen Institute to the organized teaching, and also Vancouver, Canada, Garchen Center, Maryland, and who's there? Measure, and Gardruma Buddhist Center, Debe, and Mexico, Garchen Enlightenment Stupa Society, Gebelu, and Michigan, Garchen Meditation Center, Ati, and with Dugon Dharmasaya all coming together and join together. So organize together and during we working together. Appreciate everyone. Thank you very much. And the next here, Dugon Dharmasaya, Kong, he going to share something. Please go ahead.
In Kempo, Raul is there too.
Rahul. So Ina, you hear me, Ina? Yes. Ina? Okay. Yes. So can you translate for Garchen Rinpoche for me? Zapala. So on the behalf of Dugon Dharmasaya, we would like to express our most sincere gratitude with many DDSC for the love and compassion and the precious teaching that you, Rinpoche, has bestowed today for all of us. All sentient beings, all the Sikhs, everybody wants to have happiness. But not many really know the true meaning of happiness and how to find the happiness. So, and then we end up with causing endless suffering and endless suffering. So every time we think about that, I think of them, my heart is very, very heavy. So today, all of us are very fortunate to have an opportunity to receive the precious teaching from Garchen Rinpoche. So I wish that all of us can contemplate and practice. Then you can experience and realize and actualize that happiness. And then we can continue to share our experience, our learning with others. Then hopefully the world will be more happier, everybody, all sentient will be happier, and no more suffering. So I would like to thank you to Khenpo Samdak, as always, with all the sister centers, Garchen Buddhist Institute, Christina, Gadroma Debbie, Vancouver, Maryland. We also have the many Vietnamese translation like Bodhisattva for Zoom, like Susu, Christy, or Rocco Chen from China, and many other names that I don't remember. And also the whole Sangha, the whole world Sangha. The reason I thank you for that, because when you participate in this teaching, it means a lot to us. It means a lot to me too. So you have given me the special happiness. I thank you for that. And so we have that mission to contemplate, and then we have to help others as well. And last but not least, Brikung Dhammasya also prepared it for a long while. The special offering, this is a special pendant. Okay, special pendant to Garchen Rinpoche, and this is a pendant. This side is the this side is the liberation by seeing Minecraft, and this side is the white Tara with Apala Garchen, and also the signature of love. That was love is the cause of happiness. So when you wear this. When you wear this pendant, it reminds you to remember the Lama, the Guru, that's our beloved Garchen Rinpoche. Remind us to remember the three jewels, the deities, the view, and ultimately the Supreme Bodhisattva. Then we all can continue practice, diligently practice. Then you can become the cause of happiness for everyone in the world. So, many tachidale to Apala, you have a long life, and it's just our thank you to everyone once again, and happy tachidale. Thank you. That's all. So we will send it to GBI. It's about 300 some, and we will ship it to Garchen Buddhist Institute for Apala. Okay, thank you.
Oh, come on, yeah. Come on. I just want to leave that, get a stop the Bachapa. I just took a letter. Someone took the chase or anything.
Rinpoche said that sorry, he's thanking everyone, the center who has for a long time until today. You have worked so hard and have created so much merit. It's really incredible. And also all the other centers who have done the same. Thank you.
Come on.
So see you tomorrow, and we have a 9 o'clock again the teaching Guru devotion, and also short Mahamudra teaching tomorrow. Then after 11 o'clock we can join Rinpoche's teaching. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Under this. Under slower than us. Temporal. Well, you know, city.
Bye.
Rinpoche, tomorrow at 8, not 9. 8?
Oh, 8, yes, we have a practice 8.
8.
Yes, practice is starting 8.
And where can I get